So, I haven't recorded a YouTube video with my iPad for a while, and I felt like doing this today because, well, I've been obsessed with New Super Mario Bros. DS recently, one of my most favorite childhood games, and so I decided I would work on something. So maybe most of you out there have seen those challenge videos, right? The ones where it's like, can you beat X game without touching coins, or all that? Well, I basically made a mainframe for that. So let's go over it here. And yeah, I did it on Google Sheets, basically Microsoft Excel, but you know, Google. So yeah, basically, before we go into the complex version, and most of this is just data, let's look at the blank slate here. So I'm gonna explain everything. So at the very top here, we have the challenge name. This is the name of the challenge, whether it be touching coins, not getting hit, not taking power-ups, anything like that. Then we've got the level names on the left here. Also, it's worth noting that these first two rows here are actually frozen, so if you scroll down in the list of levels, that'll still be up there. So, you've got the level names, right? You've got, I'm just gonna briefly go over all of them. Oh yeah, there's vibe checks after every world. That's basically a vibe check for the world. I mean, there's not really a better way to explain it. It's just, you review the world, basically. It's just a brief summary, a very brief summary. Less than what could be considered a sentence most times. Yep. Doesn't include cannons or anything like that, or mushroom houses. It's just the levels. And we'll get to this bottom stuff here. It's a little later. It's a little more complicated. But yeah, you've got all your levels. You got your vibe checks, right? This category, or this column shows, is it possible? So if it's possible, then you've got something that looks like this, right? So you've got a green box with the text yes inside of it, and oops, if it's not possible, you got something like this, a red box that says no. So yeah, oops, nope. Okay, so next up what we have is we've got the start date. So this is basically what day did you start trying to complete this level with the challenge. So let's say I tried to beat World 1-1 today, right? So it would be what, April 18th, 2020. And then the completion date is what day was it when you finished. So the reason I have a start date and a completion date separate is because sometimes if a level is really, really difficult, it's better to have a little space. It shows the space in between the levels. Also, I find it nice to kind of see like what day I started on the first level and then what day I ended on the last level, you know. Anyways, next, after the start and completion date, we have the difficulty. This is a 0 through 10 scale, and in order to make it at least semi-consistent, I've got the scale over here, so let's go over that. The semi-consistent difficulty scale. So, first level is level 0. It's easy, it's a breeze, absolute, you know, it doesn't even take effort. It's no added challenge, not even, sometimes, in most cases, it's not even hard without the challenge added. 1, it doesn't show up because the camera, but it says no added challenge, slightly more difficult than a 0. Then is 2, barely any added challenge, still an easy level. 3 is noticeably more difficult with the challenge, if there is one. Had to focus on 1 or 2 parts maybe. Stage 4 is, it's impossible to not notice any added difficulty, but it's very fun to play. Well, I should just say fun to play, because stage 5 is where it's very fun to play. It's maybe you failed a few times. It's added challenge. 6, mildly difficult challenge. You might have failed 1 to 4 times. Level is difficult and takes time. And reason it's in yellow instead of the cool green is because it's starting to get more anger-inducing. 7 is just tedious. It's guaranteed at least 2 tries. That's actually, that's like it needs to take at least 2 tries. And the challenge shows in this level. It's not very fun. Level 8 is harsh. The level takes over 4 tries and takes precision and focus. Not fun to play. Level 9, nigh impossible. 7 plus tries. Probably hard even without the challenge. Demotivating. Most of the time, a level 8 or 9 will normally make me get off of the DS for a while, and I'll have to return to the challenge another time. 10 is the hardest possible stage in the challenge. There can only be one level 10 in every challenge set here. But sometimes there's not a 10, because even if it is the hardest possible stage, if it's not as hard as a 10 should be, then it's not going to be 10, obviously. I might have given up and came back to it. And then there's one more. It's not possible. The number is my attempt count. So instead of having a difficulty rating here, we're going to have just a number. That's how many attempts I've taken at it. If there's an asterisk at the end of the number, or at the start, I haven't decided yet, then I've concluded that it's impossible even with a tool-assisted speedrunning program, which is basically a robot that inputs things at perfect times, like every precise control perfectly. It's basically a perfect human being. But yeah, and then here we've got the rules. We might go over that later, but let's go back to here. So now that we've gotten the difficulty out of the way. Oh, by the way, each vibe check, you may have noticed it's these 3 cells are actually merged into one big cell. This is so that I can put out a sentence. So this is basically just a review, like, World 1 was easy, this level gave me some problems, but I got over it, you know, that kind of stuff. And then it's, the vibe checks have their own difficulty cell box, where I can give a difficulty review of the entire world. So if World 2 was harder than World 1, then maybe World 2 would have like a 3, while World 1 is a 2. And most of the time, these tend to be averages of the difficulties in the world. So like, if World 2, every single level for some reason was a 10, then chances are this is going to be a 10. Even if one of these maybe was a 9 instead of a 10. But it's not always that way. Alright, next up is the star coins. So there's star coin 1, 2, and 3. This works the same way as the Is It Possible category, in the form that it either has a yes or a no, a green or red box, and this is to see, basically, to keep track of if a star coin is possible or impossible, given the challenge. Now, obviously, for the no coins run, I'm going to be excusing the star coins from the coins. Otherwise, like, what's even the point of having these 3 categories, right? And then there's the percentile here in the vibe check row. So these percentiles show how many star coins I actually have out of the world. So the formula here in the formula bar is equals count if, and then it basically highlights all of these, and it judges, it's looking for yes, as we can see here. So basically, if any of these cells have yes in them, regardless of if they're colored green or not, then this is going to bump up to 4% for each yes on average. And we divide it by 24 because there's 24 star coins. And this is how it works with all of those. And then we've got the fastest time, which is my most and least favorite feature of the entire thing. Because it enrages me when like, some of the levels are really, really difficult to speedrun, and it's not fun at all. But, you know, basically, the way the fastest time works is, it doesn't work on real human time, but rather in-game time. So, say you're playing a level, right? Let's say you're playing 1-1, and it starts off with 300 seconds, and you beat the level with 256 seconds on the timer left. That means that your score is 256. Now, this does mean that the higher the score, the better, which isn't normally the case with speedrun times, but, you know. This also leads to some pretty interesting strategies where a slower level might actually be the faster way to go. A slower method might be faster to go. So for example, like in 1-1, you might go through a pipe to the underground and then go through another pipe in the underground to get back to the overworld, and that'll cut out some distance, but it might be slower in human time if you were to do that. But it would be faster in the in-game time, if that makes sense. And in the vibe check here, it basically just adds up every single one of these. It's just the added up time. It's not really that special. So if I were to add 10 right here to 256, it would be 266, you know. Well, it's got to update first, hang on. All right, yep, 266. This is the equation if you want to make it yourself. It's just the sum of all of these. So, now it's time to go over the secret exits. Basically, this works the same way as the Is It Possible and the Star Coins, and where it determines whether or not it's possible to get to the secret exit given the challenge. So if the challenge was no secret exits, then obviously this would be kind of obscure. I don't think that's the right word, but I don't care. No, obscured is like blocked from vision. I don't care. You get what I'm saying. Oh my gosh, that... Okay. Sorry my camera isn't the best. This iPad's years old at this point. Alright, so we've went over all of this, right? Now, we're going to go over some new stuff, right? So we've went through all of this. All that I've just explained in the last 12 minutes explains all of what you're seeing right now, except at the very bottom here. These bottom 3 rows are kind of interesting. Well, no, I actually make that the bottom 2 rows. This is just a vibe check for World 8. Alright, so let's go over this. So this is the total wins. This is the sum of all of the wins in the Is It Possible category. So basically, like the star coin thing did, it basically just counts up every single one that says yes. So if any of these say yes, then it'll increase this number. So if this is yes, I don't think it has to be capital. Yeah, it doesn't have to be capital. Then total wins is 1, and the percent of levels 1 increases to 1%. Of course, there aren't exactly 100 levels in this game, though, so we'll get to that later. Actually, we'll get to it now. So, there are 80 levels, actually, in the game. So, what we do here is, for the percent levels 1, which, if it wasn't obvious already, shows what percent of the total levels you've won is. It's a pretty simple formula. It's just the total wins divided by 80, because there's 80 levels, so however many you have won out of the 80 levels is your percentage. So if this was 80, because there's 80 levels, this would be 100%, because you've completed every single one. Alright. Now it's time for the challenge difficulty. This is basically the complete overall score, the complete difficulty score of the entire, every single level, every single world. This is the summative difficulty of the challenge. Then there's the total star coin count. What this does, it's basically it just sums up these 3. And these show the total star coin counts for star coin 1 in this row, or sorry, this column, star coin 2 in this column, and star coin 3 in this column. And it works the same way the total wins does, in where it counts each one from the top to the bottom here. And if the star coin says yes here, then it'll count for star coin 1. It'll increase that. There are 240 star coins in each in the entire game, because there's 3 star coins in each level, and there's 80 levels. So 80 times 3 is 240. So there, if you were to complete collect every single star coin, this would be 80, this would be 80, and this would be 80, and this would be 100%, 100%, and 100%, because this is just showing you the percentage of the total star coins you've collected. So for this here, it shows the total percentage of the star coin 1s you've collected, so the first star coin in the stage, in every stage. So if you were to get every single star coin in every stage, then this would be 80, while this would be 100%. And we can test that by actually putting in 80 here, and this would be 100%. Formula here. Oh, yikes. Let's go back here. Okay. So, this right here, if it were 80, then that would be 100%, as shown before. This is the equation for it. It's just looking for yeses. And this, it just takes this cell, the one above the percentage one, and then it divides that by 80, much like the percent levels 1 and the total wins works. Now this is the case for all 3 of these groups of 2. So that, oh, it doesn't really show up, never mind. Alright, total star coin count just adds up every star coin thing. Like I've said before, it adds up the numbers from these 3 here. And then over here we've got the times. So this is in the total wins. So this is going to be your total time. This is going to be your time of all of these. And this one's a little complex, and I'll tell you why in a second here. So it's this equation. Equals I11, I21, 31, 42, 53, all the way up to 90. And the reason it has to be put into these groups here is because we're only taking the fastest times. Or not the fastest time. Well, that's kind of the point of the category. What I meant to say is we're only taking the totals. So like, instead of adding up every single time from 1 to 1, 1-1 I mean, to 1-castle, we're just going to take this number, which sums these up for us. So that will give us a shortcut, make it easier. And here we've got a divide by 0 error, and don't worry about that for now. This is the equation. I'm most proud of this equation out of the entire set of equations that I wrote for this. It's equals average, and then it takes a bunch of groups. And wait a second. Oh yeah, that makes sense. My bad. Okay. So yeah, I was just thinking of if I could have optimized this, but no, this is fine. Okay, so basically, it takes the averages of every single time you've gotten in the entire challenge or game, and it takes the average, so it's your average time, and then I set it up so that it would give you a ones place rounded decimal thing. So if this was like, if your only time in the entire game was like 599 and you somehow got 0.999, I don't know how you would do that, but, well, that's kind of embarrassing. It should round up to 600, but that doesn't seem to be the case, does it? Anyways, yeah, the divide by 0 error, the reason you don't worry about it is because as soon as you put in a number, even if you were to get a time of like 0.0001, you would get a time out of that. So the error doesn't really matter. As soon as you put in your first time, no matter what level it's on, this is going to be fixed. But yeah, it takes out the groups of every individual level. And the reason I didn't do what I did for the sum of like every single time, where I took the vibe checks, like this, and this, and so on, is because if I were to take the average of those, well, there's only 8 worlds. So it would divide those massive numbers by 8, and that's not going to give you a proper result. So yeah, this is, that's been all of it. I'm going to quickly show you my no challenge normal playthrough. What's it called? Worksheet? I think it's worksheet is the proper term for this little tab here. These are worksheets, and this whole thing is a workbook. But anyways, yeah, so this is if you were to not do any challenge whatsoever. So I'm not going to explain everything, but I'm just going to go through it so you can scroll down. If a time is diamond, then I believe that it can't be improved by myself. And if it's gold, then I think that it's probably going to be difficult to get a better time, but it's not impossible. So yeah, these are the times. Pretty easy. I'm getting better at the game again. World 1, World 2, still easy. I might say it's easier than World 1. Difficulty starts to rise in World 3. World 4 starts to get harder. First difficulty 5 level. I need to actually change that, because I changed the difficulty 5 to a difficulty 4. If you want to challenge my times, then go ahead, but I won't be surprised if you beat them, considering this is just a normal playthrough. Like, I was trying to get all 3 star coins. Some of them I've replayed, but, you know. I don't know about these yet. These 3, I haven't checked them out yet. Those secret exits. Yep. So I think that the game overall is a 4 out of 10 in difficulty. Of course, in quality, I believe the game is a 10 out of 10, otherwise I wouldn't have devoted this much time to it. Total star coin count 240, which makes sense. 80, 80, 80, 100%, 100%. This is basically fully completed. I mean, it is fully completed, other than these 3 up here. And this is my total, my sum of all my time. Of course, the bigger the number, the better. It's over 22,000. And then this is the average time it takes me, or the average amount of time I have left in a stage when I complete it is 278. Which isn't bad, considering that half of these or a lot over half of these I haven't even tried to get a fast time on. So not too bad. Yep. Is there anything else? I'm trying to think of anything else that I have here that might be. I should probably make sure that I'm gonna go back fully here until I can't go back anymore. That looks like it. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. So, if you're watching this, and if you've watched through all of this, I'm amazed, honestly. I mean, I'm glad that all of my time and effort I spent here has paid off for you, viewer, or viewers. Hopefully you guys have a great, I guess it could be called a break. Why are there sirens at the house? I don't know. But, I'm not going to waste your time. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.